This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 175, recorded on July 10th, 2014. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in a beautiful Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we host the show with world-class show notes each week out at the new redesigned AverageGuy.tv. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact the show via email. Just send those to me, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. You can find us on Twitter, and I really amped up my Twitter lately, and so I'd like your feedback on that. You can just go to J. Collison on Twitter and now call in those questions, and like I say every week, you can even give us a crank call. If it's a good one, I might even play it here on the show out at 402-478-8450. I guess that only works in the United States, but you can call that number, and if it's a good question, we'll play it and answer it right here on the show. And now Home Gadget Geeks is a part of the Geeks Network. Find the links to this show and many other great podcasts out at thegeeksnetwork.com. Join us in chat, watch, or listen live on YouTube, Spreaker. Oh, well, it would help if I actually started the Spreaker. Well, that's not going to matter. You can listen on Spreaker, Mixler, and find all the navigation over at theaverageguy.tv. I guess we're not going to get Mixler or Spreaker in tonight. I need to get that going. Well, a couple guys, we want to have a fun show. We'll talk a little bit about tech tonight and have a good time with it. But we also want to talk about some fun sayings. You know, Andrew always kicks out the genesis for this night is Andrew Morris always kicks out some phrase. I have no idea what he's talking about. And I said, you know what, we ought to get the two guys that know the most about Australia on the show. And then I thought we ought to get Zadler on too, because he's probably got some cool phrases that he grew up with. So with me tonight, all the way over to my left, John Zadler. John, how are you doing this evening?
Let me find the unmute button. There it is. I'm doing good.
Good to see you. And then next to him, and we were thinking, man, maybe it's been a year since I've had Rennie on Home Tech or Home Gadget Geeks. And Rennie, great to see you. How are you?
Glad to be back. Yeah, pretty good. It's the middle of winter here. It's beautiful and sunny, but it's only about 20 degrees Celsius, so that's why I've got a big coat on and freezing to death, but otherwise it's all good.
Yeah, well, no worries here. It was 90-some degrees today, Fahrenheit, and rather warm. So it's pretty warm. Well, hey, when the situation changes, it gets way colder here than it does there. Yeah, so we get pretty cold. But Rennie, good to have you back on. Rennie, let's catch up with you a little bit. You're the most faithful guy in chat all the time. You're out there, but we haven't caught up with you, at least here on the show. What's been keeping you busy these days?
Oh, all sorts of things, my friend. I've been doing a bit of work on in my main role as being a transport consultant, heavy freight consultant. I've been writing a few papers on that, particularly for new warehouse developments, that sort of thing, making sure that they've got the ducks lined up in terms of the transport that they need to get in and out, and that the roads aren't going to fall apart after a week and all this sort of stuff. And you can back a B-double up to a loading dock without any drama, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, just the mechanics of making transportation work, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how many people get it wrong, you know, and then realize, oh, we're stuck, you know, we can't get these trucks in here, or the rail siding doesn't work anymore, or you know, whatever it might be. But yeah, so doing a bit of that. Where have I been lately? Went to the Melbourne Grand Prix. I was hoping to catch up with Andrew down there, but the phone network was that congested, I couldn't even make a call. So. And he couldn't call me either, so we never quite got there. But we're only 100 meters apart, probably. But
you just couldn't make the connection.
No. Yeah. So yeah, just having a few outings. Been up to where have I been lately? To Noosa, which is my wife's parents got a house up there. So.
You working on any new tech projects? Anything any personal tech projects you've been working on?
Mostly, I suppose, lately I've been transcoding old VCRs. You know, you had one of your guests talk about that the other day, and I've been doing that for friends and family and whatnot, and for myself because you know, I've got wedding videos and things like that that are getting pretty long on the tooth, like 30 years old this year, and so putting, you know, transcribing them to a digital format and burning into CD for
How did
people.
how'd you go? Did you use a video card to do that, a capture card, or how did you actually get that done?
Yeah, it's actually an old TV capture card,
Yeah.
and I plugged my old VCR in, and it's still fired up. So I thought, oh, happy days, here we go. And the only problem I have is that the videos come out a little bit dark in places, but otherwise, it's, you know, you got video quality, so it's not the best in the world, but it does the job. It just takes time because it's all real time transcoding. So
Yeah, you can't really speed that up, can you?
no.
Yeah, so you kind of said it. I think John Greenaway was on talking about that, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you didn't listen to that, you go back a couple episodes and it's there. But yeah, he would start them, and some of his tapes were up to 6 hours, and so he would,
No, I didn't have that problem.
yeah, he would
That'd be
start them and have to
horrendous.
come back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I find it's a lot harder actually now to do that now than it did maybe 10 years ago because PCs, it's like even DVD software. Like before I could, just throw in a DVD and right click or something, it would, stuff would happen. And now it's like, okay, I want to copy that video. Before I had like ULEAD and I had all these bunch of programs, and now it's a bit like all this stuff is like it's gone, and you only have the Windows 8 and like the built-in stuff. Remember how like they had the mail program, they had some DVD program or whatever. You just click on a file and it would do its thing. Now I'm kind of like, what's going on? How do I get this from there to there? Like even
I
rip a
know.
DVD. It's
Yeah,
like you have to go
Windows
and
8
download the software. Yeah.
Windows 8 has like no player support at all. I mean native. And my
Yeah.
wife found that out. She was trying to play a DVD one day, and she's like, "Is this?" And I put Enterprise. I put Windows 8 Enterprise on there, so that didn't even have Media Center. And she was like, "How do I play?" I think we ended
Yeah.
up with VLC, but
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
she
think
struggled.
Media Windows, it was always a big thing. Windows Media Player, right? It always came with every version of Windows, and
Right.
I think now you only get it if you get the add-in, the Media Center add-in, which gives Media Center
Yeah,
and
Pro
gives you Media
Pack.
Player. Yeah,
Yep.
and who knows about that? It's like nobody knows. What click extra? What
It's
is that
cheap
all
though.
about?
It's only $10. I mean, so it's crazy how cheap it is. That's the cheapest thing Microsoft sells, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, so Rennie, you're working on your tapes and getting those in. It's funny that how after that program came out, I got a bunch of feedback back from guys. We all float around the same kind of demographic. I'm kind of realizing, the demographic of this show. We're all about 35 to 65, and we're all we got kids and some have grandkids, but we're all in the same boat. And I heard from some people that are like, oh, I'm really glad you brought that up because I went back and grabbed tapes. I thought, I better get those things. you
Yeah,
know,
the hard part was actually finding a video card, I mean a TV capture card that had RCA connectors on it, because that's all you get out of that's all you get out of my VCR. It's just, all
Yeah.
they call component or
RCA
copper.
is so 80s.
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's
the
called component. Yeah.
yellow, white, and red cables,
Hmm.
and away you go. So
Yeah.
hasn't even got S video. So
No,
there you
it's
go.
it's and like TV capture cards are they're there. You can buy them, but you gotta you gotta look for them. You can't. I remember a couple years ago, you could go to CompUSA or Best Buy or the electronic store of your choice, and they'd be on the shelf. And now they're just not. I've got a couple. I mean, if I look up there, I still have a couple. I don't use them anymore. But
Yeah,
since moving on to HD home runs, I've just kind of stopped doing plugging the cable into the back of my computer. So it's a different. It's kind of different. The product that we bought for John to do that with, that's just $80. And so if you don't have a card, you could purchase that. Again, go back a couple episodes. I should probably look that up, but go
he was
back and
happy
do that.
with it.
Yeah, no, it worked real well for him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, for sure. So, I should mention that was, of course, he was a benefactor to the Amazon, or what we call the Tech Scholarship Fund. And so, if you head out to theaverageguy.tv, works best here in the United States. Go out to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon, and any purchases that you make, I dump into a pool. And then, if you want to test out a product for us, you just let me know, and I'll buy that for you. I'll ship it to you. You can have it when you're done with it. We just want to get a post out of it, or come on the show and talk about it. And we just shipped out a Wi-Fi extender here. There was some talk about that going on our Facebook group. So if you haven't joined us over there yet on our Facebook group, do that. Yeah, we're going to test out this Wi-Fi extender. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But that all works because you use our Amazon link, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. Randy, any other tech projects you've been cooking on?
No, it's my HTPC, for whatever reason, it gets the least use in the house, of any PC, and every 6 months it sort of just doesn't work very well, and so I keep pulling that down and fiddling with it and reloading software, and it's good for another 6 months. So, and then I've had a few problems with this gizmo called you familiar with a femtocell?
Mm-mm.
It's like it's like a 3 or 4G hotspot for mobiles in your house, because where I live we got very poor
Right.
reception.
Okay.
And my wife's work moved to Optus, which is even worse than probably the worst around here. So work bought this a thing called a femtocell. It's just a little box like that.
Mm-hmm. Looks like a router.
Yeah, it looks like a router. It sits on your network, and it acts as a hotspot for your mobile phone. And of course, I had an old Belkin router. It refused to work with that after a couple of days trying to get it kick-started. Wouldn't work. So I had to go out and buy a new router, and thankfully that worked. So yeah, I finally moved on to wireless N600 or something like that. So I'm loving that too, because you get far better range and better speed around the house, and it's all good. So yeah, that was the last challenge.
Yeah, good. Well, that falls into the category of one thing that leads to another. So you buy one piece of equipment, right, and pretty soon everything's new.
Yeah, $100, $300 later, you've got it working. Yeah.
I bought a $50 part, and it causes $500 worth of upgrades to get that fit. Exactly. No, exactly. So good. Well, good to have you back, and I want to say thanks. You are always out there. You're faithful in the chat room, and not not everybody's able to show up every week, but you're out there every single week. So I appreciate you hanging out and joining us in chat. Thanks.
I enjoy the content. It's great.
Good to have you, and good to have you on.
And the chat room, of course.
Chat room is a fun place. It is definitely a fun place to hang out and get some good information, some good guys that are out there. Well, we'll catch up with John here in a second. If you're listening to the recorded version of this, hang on until the end of the show. I've got a bunch of updates to do to kind of get you updated on the community stuff. So don't forget to listen to the end of the show. Some folks, the stats show me that on Stitcher, the average listener only listens for 47 minutes. And so it seems like we get most of them to the middle of the show, wait all the way to the end, and we'll update you on some stuff. Zadler, are you going to come back and join us, or are you did you run off to cook some dinner? Let's see.
No, I'm here. No, I had to. My son actually showed. He was supposed to stay out with some friends, and then next thing you know, I hear knocking at the door. It's like, oh, criminals! Are there criminals at the door? No, it's like, it's my son. It's me. I'm home. What are you doing home?
There's no criminals in your neighborhood.
No.
You're in a good neighborhood. Oh, the picture down below is funny. It's the one I see is your static picture. So I thought you had dropped off, but when you talked, your regular picture came up.
There it goes.
Okay. Hey, let me ask you both a question. John, welcome back, by the way. And great, if you didn't listen to the episode that we did with John on his model train sets, that was awesome. So go back and catch Sadler on that one as well. John, good to have you on. Let me ask the both of you. John, I'll start with you. One of the drawbacks to a lot of locations is that you have limited bandwidth in what you're doing, and so it's capped, right? I guess that's what I mean is you only get so much bandwidth per month. Rennie, I know that's a problem in Australia as well. You guys have some pretty severe caps at times. We're unlimited in most places in the United States, not all, but in a lot of places here in the U.S. we have unlimited bandwidth. So a lot of people, we oftentimes talk about solutions in the context of unlimited, unlimited up and down data bits, and oftentimes I hear from you guys, you're like, hey, we've got bandwidth caps. So particularly in the area of syncing data, and actually, Rennie, last time you were on, we talked about mover.io, which spurred me to contact them, and we had them on the show. And so your last visit spurred that on, and they've become good friends of the show in the process. But Mover is one way to do it. But when we think of cloud storage, and the context for this was the home storage guide that I put out, that I kind of keep track of all the various cloud storage guides. What I started to get is people were sending me information about what's syncing, or now what's private cloud, right? When we think of like OwnCloud or some of those providers where your data never actually leaves your physical location, you just pull it when you need it. So you've got an app on your PC and an app on your phone, and when you're on your phone and you need that app, instead of it all being in the cloud somewhere, it just pulls it right off of your PC at home and brings it onto your phone. It's kind of a on-demand kind of method. John, let me start with you. When you think about using the cloud, and you have some caps, right, John?
Yeah. There's bandwidth. Like you pay different packages. I mean, now at least over the past year they've had more choices, but it's always like it's unless you get like a good business plan, and then maybe you'll be unlimited. But for the regular home guy, it's like there's caps. They still have those. They want to get the most that they can for their money. So the more you want, the more bandwidth, and it's like your cap goes up and then your speed goes up. So you have to take like one for the other. You can't just say, well, give me a faster speed, but I don't use that much internet, so just charge me accordingly. But no, it's like they try to get you into these packages. So this is why I don't like, Microsoft, obviously they're trying to, they want everybody to, have their content online, to the cloud, and this and that. And sometimes there's charges for that, to do that. And, for guys who have a cap, you have to consider, the extra expenses, because they might not warn you unless you set it in your email to let you know if you're reaching your cap or whatever. You'll just go over, and then you'll get these incredible $1 a gigabyte charges after at the end of the month. You're like like good kids had with their cell phones and stuff. It would go over, and then you get the bill, and you're like, oh my God, what happened? So you don't want to get that surprise. So a lot of these like Windows Home Server add-ins, like Cloudberry Backup add-in, and a lot of the stuff that you guys have available. I mean, we have them available too, but you're always in the back of your mind, you're thinking there's a bandwidth cap there. I don't want to go over my not only do you have to pay for storage, or in some cases storage is they tell you like unlimited. Remember how before they told you 5 gigs, 5 terabytes, now they just, it's incredible. I don't know how these guys can actually make some money with these, telling you it's unlimited.
Yeah, well, even a terabyte's virtually unlimited at this point. But John, so would you prefer, you're a home server guy, and so would you prefer to have all your data at home and access it? I mean, if there were applications where you could just access it easily from your mobile devices or whatever, would that be a preference to moving it to the cloud?
Yeah, I like to keep my my content at home. I like to have it here, and then but have a bit like a hybrid, or have an option there that this let's say all my content is here, and the really important stuff I can put it on like say OneDrive, or because I think even now business there, Microsoft is supposed to be giving some of the people who have the business plan, they're giving them like 1 terabyte of space now for the OneDrive. So you might say, okay, I'll get an account like that, and my real important stuff I'll put it there. And what I liked the other two is like like let's say you have some music. You have some old music you record, especially when you're, let's say you're an older guy in the 50s or older. You have music, many years ago, from the 60s and 70s or whatever that you want to hang on to. So you can have that locally, but then all the more recent stuff that's available, that you can have like a subscription to Amazon or Apple or whatever, and then get your content like that, so that, let's say, when you're off site, you're away from your home, you can still access your music, but all your real core important stuff, it's on your server.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the regular stuff is like, okay, like, TV shows and stuff. How sometimes you might have some ripped TV shows, I don't know, Gunsmoke and Wild Wild West, that you're not going to be able to go and find that maybe online. So it's like, keep that on your server at home. Make sure you have two places, not just one copy on your server and that's it. Have like a backup, whatever. But then the more current stuff, you can have that access online.
Sure. Rennie, let me ask you the same question. You probably, I don't know your situation if you guys have caps for what you're doing, but prefer to keep the data in a private cloud at home and access it that way, and have it pull off your server, or do you move that stuff to the cloud and access it that way?
Well, I use the cloud for backup.
Right.
That's it. I don't generally drag stuff off of it. Everything's stored locally here. I've got a 2012 Essentials system running behind me there, and yeah, so I like to sort of back up everything locally, store data locally.
Let's make the assumption for a second we're using a crash plan or something like that to move one copy to the cloud for backup purposes. And I know even with crash plan, you can access your crash plan. If you want to get access to your files, you could use a mobile app to get that. But that's not a super convenient way to get access to your, the data that's on your home server through crash plan. It's not a great way to do that. So let's make that assumption. Do you access through the web access layer with 2012? If you need data that's on your server and you're not at home, do you come through that way to get it?
I can do. Depends what I'm looking for. For example, all my mobile phone photos is backed up to OneDrive and or Dropbox. Any sort of documents are backed up on the server as well as in the cloud, so I can go wherever.
Sure.
Generally, I go to the cloud. Simply because, and this is part of the story you were getting at before, the bandwidth speeds here are just ridiculously slow. So I don't want to be dragging stuff off my home network at 8 mega, what is it, 800 kilobytes a second, because it's going to take 20 minutes for it to arrive. Whereas I can get it off the net much faster. It's just it's outside my network.
Sure. So in your case, because the speeds are so poor, it's more advantageous to at least get as much data to the cloud that you're going to need access to, have it in the cloud to start with, so that you can get access to it faster.
Exactly. Yeah. If I'm out of the house. Yes,
sure.
Jim,
Yeah.
I hear like some, guys were talking, Andrew Zarian there, he does another podcast, and he was saying like, they have like, I guess you guys tend to have like maybe 30 down, 30 up, 50 down, 50 up. Like it's quite even. Us, we tend to have like, let's say 30 down, but only 2 up.
Right.
You see, so now if I have a file that's on my server or as I have it in the cloud and I'm off-site, it's faster for me to just go and re-download it from my Dropbox or whatever. Than to actually upload it from my server, because even though I'm at that location, I can download at 30. Well, my server is only uploading at 2. So it's I'd rather go over there. So those are, like I said, the more current files, the files that I'm going to kind of play around with on the daily basis, I'll make sure that I have it in the cloud, so then I can kind of get to it quicker. And the other thing I like is with the with Office 365 or Office 2013, how when you go, they kind of sync right away your My Documents folder to your OneDrive. So what's nice is if you go off site and then you're at home, you're working on the document, then you save it, and then you leave, and then you're somewhere else, and you want to access it from your phone or whatever. What's nice is that you didn't have to sync at home or anything. You didn't have to do the 1980s sync with a wire, and online, because it's synced to your Office, your Dropbox, and it's Word document or PowerPoint presentation, that's not going to take forever to download. So that's what's nice is that how Office kind of makes puts all your files on the OneDrive.
John, did you say 1980 sync with a wire?
Yeah, well,
we weren't thinking anything in 1980.
1980. Well, how long ago? Well, when did the iPod? Okay, well, maybe.
It hasn't been around that long. Which is crazy to think. It's crazy to think. Yeah.
I have one of these iPod. What are these? This is a look at that. That's a Palm Z71. This must have come out in the 80s or something.
No.
Okay, maybe not 80s. No, okay, 90s. 90s,
maybe early
hey,
2000s.
You know what? Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. Because I'm actually watching a new show that started. I don't know if you heard about it. It's called Halt and something. Anyway, it's a show. It's basically IBM. These guys kind of like leave IBM and they start. They want to build a home computer. They actually reverse engineer one of IBM's workstations or something like that because they want to get into that home PC market. So it's a new show. It's been like 7 or 8 episodes.
Is that about Microsoft? Isn't that what they did?
Yeah, well, I think Microsoft. Yeah, they got like their software, whatever. This guy actually, what he did is he bought one of the PCs. I don't know how much they paid it, or their desktops or whatever it was. It was like $5,000. He brought it home and he took it all apart and with a meter. A multimeter, and back then, multimeter was like wavelengths. Just these lines going up and down in the scope. He has to try and figure out of a board of like 50 chips, because then it was like mass production. They weren't like a board that had like just what you need. They had like all these off-the-shelf type of boards that they just put together, and then they made that into a computer. And the most important thing was the BIOS was actually on a memory chip. They didn't have like CPUs. It was all on the BIOS was the most important thing that kind of brought everything together. So this guy actually had to go on all these chips to find out which one was the BIOS, then take that chip out, put it in a circuit, and then connect wires, LEDs, and depending on the LEDs, how they flashed, you could tell, what the digital signal it is, like hexadecimal and decimal. And he actually copied down the whole table. And on those chips, I think there was 65,000. I think there's a mathematical number there, 65,000 something of how many bits could go on the chip. And the guy actually read from bit 1 to 65,000, whatever. He wrote it all down, printed it on a book, which was, these 11 by 17 paper. Remember back in the day you had the dot matrix printer? So you had this book, large like this, thick like that. It was the whole code. And then the guy actually went and told IBM that he reversed it because it's against the law to do that, right? So he actually told IBM that he reverse engineered it. So that they kind of, anyway, it's a whole conflict. It's a show, right? So they kind of want to bring something.
Yeah. So it's real? It's true?
Well, it's based on a true story, but, they add, it's always you add a little bit of colors to it.
Because the true story isn't exciting enough. Well, let me bring this back around. It's kind of interesting because as I've done these cloud storage options, I'm finding more and more private cloud storage options. And I don't know if that's necessarily a response to some of the data breach problems that we've had and some of the other things with Dropbox and those pieces, but just a couple that we're going to talk about Home Server Show in a couple weeks, I think. Tappin is one of those, Tappin. They have some software you install on everything, and then it gives you access to all those files. You don't have to move data around. You don't have to put your music in the cloud. But you're right. I hadn't thought of it in this way. If you have a slow up speed, Rennie, in your case, maybe it's slow up where you're at. Down is fine.
No, it's not. It's only 3 meg down.
Oh, okay. So up and down, a little slow for you. Yeah, it's probably better to move that stuff to the cloud overnight when it can take a while to sync and then just access it from the cloud. As opposed here, we're not exactly equal. I think I'm 15 and 50, which is still pretty good. And somebody came to me today and said, hey, did you hear that Cox Communications doubled everybody's internet speeds today? Okay, so I guess I haven't tested it yet. I guess I need to test it. So I could be 30 and 100 at this point. Yeah, that would be very good. So Tappin, yeah, it's really sick. I'm sorry, Rennie. I apologize for being a douche on that. And just call, you got here, you're struggling with it, and we got a great connection. Tappin is one of those, Tappin. Check that out if you're interested in private cloud. Also, a couple other ones, just I haven't covered yet, but a few. Christian Love's Own Cloud. That's he when he went to college, he used that OWN Cloud, owncloud.org. C-File is another one, and then a brand new one I just found today, and that's what kind of sparked it, was Shirley. That's SHER.LY. and they're in beta about, again, there's this, for whatever reason, there are situations where people don't necessarily want to move that stuff to the cloud. So over the next couple weeks, probably on Home Server Show, maybe even right here, we'll be covering those bits of information, and I'm sure I'll be trying those out kind of as well. One other thing real quick, just it's a personal story. I had a friend of mine at work. He had a technician. He had some PC problems. He took his computer in. They didn't back it up. They formatted the drive and put Windows back on, and he had hundreds of thousands of pictures on the drive, and he was like, "Are they gone?" And I'm like, "Well, sort of." And he's like, "Can you get them back?" And I pinged Christian, and he gave me Recuva, which is some software that you can buy. It's $25. They have a free version of it as well. And I recovered probably about 80% of his pictures off that drive, even after it had been formatted, and got a lot. I also got a lot of other junk back, and some things that had been written over by that point. If they had not put Windows on there, I wouldn't have had a problem, but they loaded Windows, so we lost some pictures. Recuva, Recuva. Is that, have either one of you guys tried that before to get data back that you deleted?
Yeah, I've used that, and I know people who've used that for the memory cards, right, and their cameras. Like they copy stuff, and then I don't know, they transfer it to their computer, and I think sometimes it'll move it to the computer, right? So then it's off the camera. Well, basically it's a copy and then a delete off the memory chip, and then somehow something messes up, and then they're like, I don't have my pictures. It's like, oh, well, okay, as long as you don't start taking any new pictures to, like you say, rewrite over the existing, bits, you use Recuva and bring it back. Because even some programs, we've tried it on the SD cards and they didn't work, some undelete programs. But it was surprising that even the free version of Recuva, I was able to bring some of those pictures back. So yeah.
Very cool. Rennie, have you tried it at all?
Yeah, no, I haven't tried Recuva. I've tried Zero Assumption Recovery, which is free. Just found it after a Google search, and because my son dropped his Samsung S3 or something into the mud at a dance festival, and suddenly it didn't work, and he had all his photos on it. Same old story, and it worked a treat. It got everything back, which he couldn't do any other way. So I haven't done any sort of hard drive recovery on it, but it certainly worked on an SD card. So.
Okay, what's the name of it again?
Zero Assumption Recovery.
Zero Assumption Recovery. All right, I have to look that up. All right, cool. John, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, for you, we were talking about the backup solution. I heard the guys over at Windows Weekly. They were talking about how how Microsoft now with the cloud and this and that, they want people to back up all their data, to use them as their off-premise stuff. And they're saying like a lot of people are still skeptical. It's like just like people moving to the Windows RT and all that stuff. It's like, what is that? I'm a little scared. I'm not going to touch it. So that's how they kind of feel with the cloud. It's like, I don't want to. So Microsoft just recently announced something. I'm trying to find the name of what the product is called. And basically, it's like you set up a server at the company. So this is for companies, right? So at a company, you set up a server, an array, and basically you're copying all your data to that. So you have an on-premise backup of all your stuff, but then you can slowly choose and pick. It's connected to their Azure stuff, their Azure servers. So you can start to play around with what stuff you want. Send to the cloud. What is more like you want to put like as a deep backup. You say I want to have it there or whatever. So it gives you a little bit of an in between, the stopgap, I think you call that. Between what I'm gonna have here and what I'm gonna have there, and then as you slowly like get used to it and stuff like that, then maybe you can have more online. So even Microsoft is thinking about that, and like I said, some companies are thinking about how they want to have because I can see how a company wants to have stuff. They're a company, right? They think that having it at on premise is more secure. It's more secure if your system is like protected. If you have everything on hard drives, yeah, you have it in your thing, and you have big bolts on the front doors or whatever. But if some guy knows how to break into your firewall or whatever, you have some lousy infrastructure set up. This guy is going to steal all your data from under you. You don't even know it's gone. At least when you come home, you turn on the lights, you see your stuff is gone. It's gone. But when your computer stuff is like somebody just copied off your data, you look, your data's still there, so it looks okay because it's still there. Yeah, but somebody else has a copy.
I know. Well, tonight I will, as soon as the show's over, I'm going to pull that drive, put it back in the box. I recovered all those files to my server, my 2012 server, so they're sitting right there right now, and I'll move them back onto his drive and give them to him. And then I'm going to give him a little crash plan card that says you need to set up a crash plan account right now. Do not pass go, do not collect $200 and get your stuff. Now that we've recovered it, let's get it backed up so you don't lose it again. So we'll be doing that here.
Jim, I just found the name. It's called, hold on, let me scroll down. Mary Jo Foley's talking about it. It's called Store Simple. You ever hear of that?
Is that today's Windows Weekly?
Yeah, they could have been. Let me see. Her post is dated July 9th.
Yeah.
I'll give you put a
Probably
post.
on today's show. Okay. What's it? Restore. What's it called?
It's called Store Simple.
Store
Azure something. I'll put a link in the chat here.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Drop it in the show notes too. So, all right, let's make a transition. That's enough tech. If you are listening, oh, John dropped it in the chat room here. If you're listening to this and all you listen for is tech and you don't want to have a little humor involved, just fast forward to the end and get the announcements. We're going to chat for a while. I've wanted to do this for a while, so we're going to chat a little bit a while, not tech related at all. I asked Rennie because, like I said early, Andrew comes up with all these sayings, and I laugh. I go back and watch the shows, and I laugh like I know what he's talking about, and then I kind of go, "What did you say?" And I realize it's a statement that I did not even have a clue what he was saying, and it was a local. It was either local to Melbourne or there in Australia, and I thought, wow, I didn't realize just how many sayings are different between the United States and Australia. And you expect some differences, but there's some funny ones too. And this doesn't need to be necessarily intended to be comedy, but I wanted to walk through this a little bit just because it was like I had no idea there were so many. So I asked John to think about a few as well. We'll cover a little bit about what's in the United States, but Rennie did such a nice job of focusing on some of these for Australia. We're going to run through some of those now and talk about that. So, Rennie, first, thanks for taking some time you did a little bit of homework here to get some of these things out, and I was reading them and I was still baffled. I'm like, I've never heard of any of these. So it looks like you have a little pop quiz to start with. So let's we'll start with that.
Okay. I might just say this at the outset, it was much harder to get this list together than what I thought it would be because you use these terms every day. Therefore, you're not thinking about them.
Yeah.
So
No, when I went through the American ones, when I went through the American list, I had the same problem. I'm like, how unique is this and how, so same problem. Yeah.
Well, some of these may not be uniquely Australian either. I'm sure you'll
Many
tell
of them are.
me.
Some of them aren't. Some aren't, but some of them are.
Okay, as you said, we've got a couple of quiz questions here for keep chat engaged while we get off the tech subject. Okay, question number one, if I were calling Burke on the white phone, technicolor yawning, or having a chunder, what would I be doing?
Having a chunder.
I don't know. You went to the toilet?
It's calling Burke on the white phone. Is that what? That's calling Burke on the white phone.
Yeah, Burke.
Yeah. So chat room. Calling Burke on the white phone. Burke. Technicolor yawning. That is something. That was a phrase we used in the 70s here in the United States.
Oh, okay.
And but it's still not. It's not very popular. I was a California kid, so that maybe have been a local California thing, or having a chun. That's awesome. What do you do in chat room? What do you think it is? We'll give them a second to. We actually want you guys to take a guess there. Yes.
Kevin's got it. Yeah.
You are vomiting. We'll say sometimes hugging the porcelain throne, right? That's
Oh yeah.
That's a saying that we use for that, or worshiping to the porcelain gods. That's another one that gets John. Any vomit sayings that are unique?
Blowing chunks.
There you go.
Or dishing up the carrots.
Oh, yeah. Let's see if the chat room. Yeah. So they're a little bit behind us, so it'll be tough to for them. Tim Bax is hurling. That's another
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
hurling.
that's a pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get
So
full marks for that.
yeah, there you go.
Okay, next question. If I was described as having a few roos loose in the top paddock, or unable to run a choco vine over a dunny,
What?
or or two
What?
bricks short of a load, what would I be?
Oh, unable to run a
Choco.
choco
Do you have
vine.
chocos? Yeah.
No, what's a choco?
It's I don't know, some sort of vegetable that just about grows rampantly. Once you plant it, it's absolutely tasteless.
So it's
The
like a
people
weed.
just
It's like a
well,
weed.
not quite a weed. It's cultivated, but they just grow like mad.
Okay.
And
Very
so
very
the
quick.
simplest thing in the world,
Yeah.
simplest thing in the world to grow.
Okay. You can't mess that up. And then a dunny is what?
A dunny, yeah. Are we suspending the G rating for tonight, Jim?
Sure, why not? We'll just be careful with it.
Yeah, okay. A dunny is what we used to call an outdoor toilet.
Okay.
Where you had
An
to run
outhouse.
out the backyard and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
That was
an
a dunny.
outhouse. Okay. A dunny is an
Outhouse.
outhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing is what we call it. Okay. So Schoonover says you're mentally deficient.
It's fairly apt. Fairly apt.
And so having a few roos, those are kangaroos, right?
Yeah.
Loose in the
Loose in the
top.
top paddock.
And what's a paddock?
Oh, like a field.
Okay.
But a fenced field, so shall we say.
Yeah, and
Top paddock refers to your brain, of course.
yeah, up here, right?
Yeah.
And then you'd had put in there as well two bricks short of a load. We would say that sometimes day late and a dollar short. That's kind of when you're out of luck. John, any localized sayings that you guys use for that? The elevator doesn't go to the top floor.
Yeah.
5 cans short of a 6-pack.
Yeah, I gotta think about that one. No.
Chat room, anything that you realize? Gary says you realize you're so dumb it makes you hurt. Oh.
Okay.
All right. So that's Andrew had said that first one. That's kind of what tipped it off. And I am like, when he said a few roos, loose in the top paddock, I was like, what? I didn't understand that one at all. So, very cool.
I would not be able to say those lines if I was half in the bag. Like, what? What did you say?
If you were half in the bag, is that?
Yeah, half. There you go, half in the bag. If I was drunk, if I had a few too many drinks.
I guess that's probably another time in our life when we have a lot of those kinds of sayings, right? When we're inebriated or when we're lit. That's something we say in the United States a lot. I'm lit. I was lit. I'm half in the bag. What else? Rennie? What would you guys say besides just drunk?
Well, I was just about to get to that, Jim, in the next section.
Let's do it then. Let's go through them.
That's always fun. Okay, so as a recent, a couple of years ago visit, or 12 months ago visitor to the US, and an avid fan of this podcast and others, there's some things Americans just get wrong. Okay, so rooting has nothing to do with supporting a sporting team. Okay. It's actually a carnal act.
Huh.
So just be careful with that one if you visit Australia.
Yeah. Well, it's like a rubber in the United States is in England. That's an eraser, right? If you're gonna erase.
Yeah.
Rubber, and we that's not necessarily what that is here. So keep going.
Okay. Well, next up we got an ass is a member of the equine family. An ass is part of the human anatomy. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
And of course, pissed does not mean angry. Pissed
Right.
off does, though. If you're pissed
Uh,
off, you're angry.
yes. Yep.
And, piss means to be drunk, as in pissed as
Ah.
a fart or pissed as a tick,
Pissed as a fart? Is that
Yeah. Don't
that?
ask me why. Don't ask me. I got no idea of the
Yeah.
derivation of that, but
That's always what is funny to me is how do these sayings get started, right? What was it that led to because you think about it, I mean, there's 350 million people in the United States, and these sayings are as common here, there's everybody says, and there's localized ones as well, but how did
yeah,
that
yeah.
get started? Like recently the phrase "my bad" has just spread like wildfire. That wasn't anything we said in the 80s. John, we'll go back to the 80s with you.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't say "my bad" in the 80s. That came from somewhere, but now everybody I talk to says, they'll make a mistake. Oh, that was my bad. Where'd that come from? You know?
I think a lot of it's coming out of social media. These young kids in social media,
Mm-hmm.
sort of evolving the language, for better or for worse. And I mean, some of the Australian ones virtually come out of TV commercials or any sort of a TV show, or basically whatever popular culture is. There was this ad for the Yellow Pages. You know what the Yellow Pages is? A big book full of business names and stuff.
Well, it's on paper.
And a big book about this thick. I got one underneath my monitor at the moment. That's all they're good for these days. But um, this woman missed out on putting her ad in the in the Yellow Pages for the year, and she's looking through the phone book and she can't find the name there, and she looks over to the woman that was supposed to do it, and then the woman just takes off, and she's running through the car park, and this woman yells out, "Not happy, Jan," and that's common use now. Not happy, Jan, just means you're not happy, but
Yeah. It's not Happy Jan. It's the
yeah,
well, we had
Jan,
a yeah. Yeah. We had a commercial in the 80s from Wendy's, which was a hamburger place here in the US. And this old lady was on there and she said, "Where's the beef?" Right? And in this
yeah.
annoying voice, right? And that took off, right? That took off like wildfire. So, yeah,
Well,
sometimes it
remember
does.
back in I guess maybe the 80s or 70s or 80s when you see somebody was bald, you would say, hey, it's Kojak over there. And then now, hey, it's Kojak. Now they say, hey, he's got the Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel's bald now, right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know, unless he
Yeah.
grew his hair back. But it's like it goes with the times, right? So it's like back in the 80s, there's eight Kojaks over there, and now it's like Howie Mandel or whoever it is. So yeah, a lot of stuff gets updated.
Yeah. Rennie, I don't think you have this in here. I was looking for it because I don't want to do any more spoilers. But um, don't you guys have a saying, "And Bob's your uncle"?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
I thought that was American too, though.
well, I think in some parts of the country it is, but I've never heard that
Yeah,
before you said that. Like this, and then Bob's your uncle. And I'm like, what?
yeah.
What does that mean? And so, I'm a California kid. We didn't have that at all growing up. So let's do a few more. Keep going.
Okay. If I was urging you to piss or get off the pot, or to have a go, you mug, I'd be telling you to, just do something, even if it's a bad decision. Just do something.
Yeah, and we would say sometimes poop or get off the pot. That's kind of
Yeah.
that's the change in that one. And then have a go, you mug.
Have a go, you mug. Yeah, that's
Go, you
more
mug.
of I guess more of something you'd yell out at a football game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Not
for
here.
a sporting
You'd be like, what? What did you say? That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
Okay. You know, rather than just saying something's obvious, we tend to say something like, "Does the Pope kiss concrete?" Or "No shit, Sherlock."
Yeah,
Uh,
that's real popular here in the U.S. That one.
yeah, yeah.
We say that a lot. Does the Pope kiss concrete? Not. I never heard. John, have you heard that one before?
No,
No.
no.
Well, that's. I think the previous Pope had a predilection for kissing the ground every time he walked off an
Ah.
aircraft. So that's
Okay.
where that comes from.
That makes sense. That makes sense. John, do you guys have any obvious, like, anything different than when it's
There's,
obvious?
I think
Like,
there's one like that there.
way to go, Einstein.
Yeah, yeah. Way to go,
Yeah.
Einstein.
Way to go, Einstein.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
another. That's gotten real popular. Okay, what else, Rennie?
Okay. If you were busy, you'd be flat out like a lizard drinking, or as busy as a Beirut brickie.
What?
I don't get it. Some stuff you could get it, but other stuff is like, what? Where did that come from?
Or as busy as a one-armed paper hanger.
Yeah, yeah. Now that one I've heard of before. As busy as one. Well,
Okay.
the other one we say is as busy as a one-legged man in a butt kicking contest.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another
That'll
one.
do.
But busy as a Beirut brickie?
Well, back when there was all that trouble in Lebanon, and they kept blowing the place up.
Oh,
I get it. Sorry.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little slow. What did we say? I'll load couple bricks short of a full load. And then flat out like a drinking lizard. So that's just because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can imagine just, a
Right.
or something coming up to a water hole and having a drink, they
Mhm.
flatten themselves right down to get to the water. So flat out means busy, and
Mhm.
like a lizard drinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good. Good. Keep going.
Okay. If you were full of food or alcohol or anything, you'd be as full as a state school port rack or as full as a goog.
What's a coog?
A goog is an egg.
Really?
Full as an egg,
All right.
basically.
Full as an egg would be the same thing. Would be the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But you'd say goog instead of egg.
Goog. Yeah.
So if you're going to make an omelet, would you make it out of eggs or out of googs?
Probably eggs these days.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
not,
Is that a term that goes back a little ways? It's an older term
oh,
for
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's more of a
Okay.
kid's term,
Okay.
Cookies for breakfast instead of eggs.
Mhm.
But
Okay. Okay.
and it's full as a state school port rack. Bet you can't work that one out.
A state school point rack. No, not a clue. How do you parse that one?
Well, state schools are, government-funded schools
Okay.
here in Australia, and a port rack is where you put your bag. We call a bag a port. They don't call it that in Victoria. They call it something else.
Because
Satchel or something.
Queensland has kind of different, right? Don't they? Or is that where you're not? Are you in Queensland? Or are you in?
Yeah.
You're in Queensland, so you guys call it a port,
Yeah.
but we would call it luggage, right? Same, a bag,
Yeah.
luggage, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a port to us.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was talking to this gal on Tuesday in Perth, and she was like, "Yeah, in Queensland they use different terms. They got different." Because I was telling her we were going to do this podcast, and she used that
Oh,
example. They don't call it a bag; they call it a port.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so the port rack, as full as a state school port rack.
Yeah. So state schools are generally overcrowded.
Okay, gotcha.
You ever hear that line? It's not funny It's not funny if somebody has to explain it to you.
Well, I'm just trying to figure it out, John.
Yeah, but that's it. It's like at least now that now that I'm figuring it out, it's like I'm thinking, yeah, okay, that could be funny.
Now, Rennie, you've got the next one. This idea of really. That is another thing here in the last 5 years that, at least in the United States, has taken off. Just that word. Like, we never
Yeah.
said that. Like, really? And you say it really sarcastically. Like, really?
Yeah,
That kind of thing. So that's a situation where a word is taken on, not, I won't say new, but it's taken on new emphasis because of that. But you have some additional words for that.
yeah. These are pretty old, old Australian, if you like. The first one is, Struth, as in, um, that's amazing sort of thing, really, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the other one is, fair dinkum, which is sort of more like a question, I suppose. Are you telling the truth, fair dinkum,
Okay. All right. Real common or not so common anymore?
Oh, no, common, yeah.
Okay. And you would say, so like Struth, you would say with an exclamation, like Struth.
Yeah, that's
Right?
amazing. Struth.
Yeah.
Yeah, really?
Boom.
Struth.
But fair dinkum is like fair dinkum. You'd ask that as a question.
More as a question, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you've got some. Yeah. Keep going.
We've got some assorted fictitious things. I mean, you guys have got your Bigfoot and whatever else you got running around over there.
Yeah.
We have bunyips. And drop bears. I don't know what a bunyip is. It's just some, mythical creature lives out in the bush in a swamp somewhere.
I think we call those snipes here. That's a term we use. Snipes. People go snipe hunting.
Nice.
Snipes.
Okay, right.
Yep.
And drop bears, jump out of trees, and they're koala bears, really, I suppose, but they're the only sort of bear-like thing we've got. So they're sort of koalas with particularly vicious tendencies. We'll drop on your tent while you're camping somewhere. So
they'll just drop.
Yeah. And a gommerator, which is anything mechanical you don't know the name of.
No. Okay, like like we say a doohickey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
doohickey or a gommerator. A gommerator could be something bigger.
Okay. So, a gommerator. Yeah. So it's just whatever.
Yeah, if you don't know what it means or you couldn't be bothered, just say, has anyone fixed the gommerator yet?
Oh, that's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, the gommerator, the flux capacitor. We like to say sometimes. What's the flux capacitor?
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. All right. Keep going.
Okay. If you were built like a brick shithouse or 3 pick handles wide, you'd be pretty big and strong.
Yeah, the brick shit house we say too. That's a common here. Not a lot, but I've heard that before. John, you guys have any sayings for strong, strength, tough? We say stud. Man, that guy's a stud.
Well, wait, what is it? Bull? Built like a bull? Yeah. Built like a bull.
Not terribly exciting. Don't you guys have any exciting sayings there?
I'm off my game today.
John, well, we need to have you telling a story that they come out.
Story I can do.
That's when they come out. Yeah.
That's when they come out for you.
I've heard of gonculator. You know when you're talking gomerator? I've heard of
gonculator.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's like a whiz bang, something that is mechanical, and it's like, what's this contraption? Like saying something is a contraption, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
This one is cold, right? These are various things where you're cold, and I've got a comment on this too. So read those off.
Well, you'd probably know more about this than I would, but freeze the balls off a brass monkey. As cold as a mother-in-law's kiss. I think Andrew brought that up a couple of weeks ago.
He did.
Cold as the hair on a polar bear's bum.
Yeah. Well, freeze the balls off a brass monkey. You think, we all kind of think that. That's actually, I looked that one up, and that is actually, it's an old saying on the ships. They would keep the cannonballs on these metal racks, right? They called the racks monkeys. And so when it would get cold, they would constrict, and the cannonballs would fall off. And so that's where that came from. We would think of it as something else.
Yeah.
Not too many people firing cannonballs anymore. So no, I looked that one up right before the show. I thought that was kind of funny. So, okay, what else?
Mother-in-law's kiss. That one, I can relate to that one. I can relate that one. Lived it.
Oh, sorry, John. Didn't mean to bring flashbacks. Now, Rennie, this one with close, right? There's a lot of these, and I think in every culture has this. When you almost got there, but what do you got?
Within a bee's dick,
Yeah.
or a poop teeth, which is something infinitesimally small,
A poop
or
teeth? Is that what that
poop
is?
teeth,
Poop teeth?
poop teeth, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no. And
and or
go ahead.
a bit short one end if you're measuring something.
Yeah, and I was going to say hair on a gnat's ass. I think that's one that we
Yeah.
that we say when it's close. Seem like there's a bunch of those when like in races, and when people say where this is really good in
Well, the
America.
skin of your teeth, right?
Skin of your teeth. Yeah,
Skin of your
that's
teeth.
another good one. In the South, they have a lot of these sayings. In the South here in the United States. So, all right, fast or enthusiastic?
Yeah, like a rat up a drain pipe. Uh, and here we go, offending people again. Like a Mormon to a Melbourne Star.
Now, what's the Melvin Star reference? I don't know what that is.
A Melbourne Star is an Australian brand of bicycle.
Okay, I got you.
So when the boys set out daily on their mission to deliver the
the good word.
heathen Australians from hell and damnation, they literally just sort of run out onto these Melbourne Stars and leap on them and take off. So
here in the U.S. they walk.
Keen.
They
really?
walk. Yeah, no, it's a different. Yeah, it's a little bit different, and I think Schwinn would be the bike, right? That's a really famous bike brand here in the United States, or Schwinn bicycles. Okay. So,
well, Melbourne Stars are actually made in Melbourne, I think. So, shame Andrew's not here. He could
he could verify that.
A bit more about it. Yeah. Melbourne's a suburb of Melbourne, anyway. So. Okay, well that's I've been rattling on too long, but I've just listed a whole bunch of words and sayings there, Jim. If you would like me to explain any of them, they go on. List goes on a bit.
Yeah, I might need to explain a few, like the first one.
Bogan. That's probably our equivalent of a redneck.
Okay.
Everyone's got a bit of.
Is it tied to a particular I can't even talk, geographical region, or just a kind of?
It's national. It's national. A bit hard to describe.
Yeah.
They're actually getting quite popular in popular culture. There's a TV show on recent to find Australia's best bogan. Yeah. And they got TV shows where the whole cast is what you consider to be bogans,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a little bit of bogan in all of us, basically.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's probably a little bit like the phenomena we had here with, what's the show about Duck Dynasty, right? Those guys are kind of redneck, big beards, but that's a real popular show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, anything else?
Couldn't pull the skin off a rice pudding, so just can't do anything. Yeah,
that's more of a reference to a motor vehicle being underpowered.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got it. Sorry, I'm a little slow, but that's pretty funny. More front than Myers.
Yeah, well, Myers is a big department store here in Australia, and expansive shop fronts.
Yep. As useless as an ashtray on a motorbike. That's a good one. Yeah. Batting for the other team. Yeah, we got that. Blind mullet.
At the risk of offending
Hold
everyone.
on. I see I see the notes. Okay, we'll leave that alone. Don't have a brass razoo.
Yeah, that means you're poor.
Okay, all right.
It used to be a coin back in the 100 years ago, whenever it was.
Okay, yeah,
A razoo.
a razoo was like a penny, probably like our penny.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, what's that saying? I don't have two nickels to rub together.
I can't rub two nickels together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like when you're poor, I guess.
Right. Yep. Poor as a crow. Come a gutster?
Come a gutser.
Gutsa?
Is to fall over.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah. Trip over and hit the deck. Come a gutser.
Wonder where that comes from.
I got no idea.
Interesting. Yeah, don't get your knickers in a knot. We would say don't get your knickers in a wad. So same.
That's even funnier.
What is wad? All right, we'll let it go.
I'm just trying to visualize, but it's too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, steak and kidney.
That's just a bit of rhyming slam for Sydney.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Dinky die?
Yeah, that means fair income. No, it means really Australian. Probably the best way to put it.
It's like what we say in America.
Dinky die Aussie, right?
Okay. And that's a true Australian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dinky die.
You could tell me anything. I wouldn't know. You could make it up. Let's see what.
No. It's all true. It's all true.
Coppa gobful.
Yeah, that's if someone abuses you. You cop a gobful from somebody they're angry at you for doing something wrong.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got a mouthful. That's sometimes, or an earful. That's what we'd say. Oh, you got an earful.
Yeah.
Same idea. Same ideal.
Yeah,
crack a fat.
Yeah. I'll just do this in chat.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
On the video, yeah.
Oh, Kevin Schoonover says, "Don't get your undies in a bunch." That's another. Don't get your undies in a bunch.
Yeah.
John, anything? You got any sayings like that?
Let me see. Is my mute on? No. No, can't. Well, that's it. No, don't get your panties in a knot.
Yeah, don't get your panties in a wad. We have a weird saying in the U.S. called "kit and caboodle." I don't know if you've heard of that. We'll say the whole kit and caboodle.
Whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, whole kit and caboodle. And you think, where did that
bells
come
and whistles?
From? Bells and whistles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So kit is a set of objects as a toolkit, or what a soldier would bring in his kit bag. So it's the kit, it'd be like a military term, the kit piece that he brings. And then caboodle, or boodle, as they say here, it's an archaic term meaning group or collection, usually of people. So the whole kit, the kit and the caboodle. So that not only the kit, but the people as well, the whole thing. So we'd say the whole 9 yards. That's kind of another phrase that we would use for that. That's a military term as well. When you're dropping, that's a measurement of bombs that drop out of a bomber. 9 yards.
Hey, I'm just thinking of saying, don't put the cart ahead of the horse. Is that something?
Yeah, don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let me get back to
one that's always mystified me until I looked it up was soup to nuts. I thought, is this about scalding yourself, or or what the hell does it mean? I googled it one day and found out what it meant, but that was something I'd never heard before.
Yeah. Crack a fat. Oh, Tim Black's just laughing at crack a fat. Well, all right. Well, with that, we will. If you have any more, if you've got any more sayings and you want to get them in, head out to the averageguy.tv in this post that we'll do for it. You can drop it right in the comments, or head out to the Facebook page and head out to our. And if you're not a member of our Facebook page, you'll need to ask me to join it. We'll bring you in. Just search for, I think it's Average Guy TV on Facebook, and we'll bring you in, and you can drop those right on. It's kind of fun. It was a fun exercise, Rennie. Thanks for spending a bunch of time. Anything else that you want to cover out of there?
No, I don't think so, mate. That's all good. Done and dusted.
All right. There you go. There's another
There
one.
you
Done.
go.
And
I mean, you brought this whole show together there.
Well, I got inspired, so I had to I crowdsourced some of it from a few of my mates, so they were very helpful. Just in reminding you, I mean, this stuff comes out when you're in a conversation with 10 blokes, but to sit down and actually think, oh, what are these things that we're looking for? It's a bit harder to find.
well, and I'm
Because
sure
it's part of your culture, so you think it's it's everyday stuff that's going on.
But
But
nature, you don't even think about it.
yeah. Well, and I wonder, especially a lot of the U.S. phrases, because of the popularity of U.S. TV, those are probably more well known than maybe what we hear in Australia or what we get in the UK or
No
something.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So as I look through them, I'm like, no, and pop culture is so strong in some of those, like you mentioned, just, Twitter and Facebook and what the kids are doing. And there's this whole new, Fallon makes fun of this, Jimmy Fallon on his shows, this gal who goes, ew, all the time, ew to everything. And that's become this statement now. I hear people saying it all the time. It's just really weird. It's ew. And so it's one of those things. And some of those live for a while. It's just like everything else. Some of them live for a while and they go long, and some of them have a lifespan of maybe a year, and then they go away. So I'm always fascinated by language. I love, this has been a fun exercise for me to walk through and talk about these things. What's really interesting, and I'll wrap this up here with this, is that when I was in college, I took a history of the English language course. And it started at the very first century, worked its way up, and just the English language, which we're all using today in some form or fashion, has all these deviations in it through its history and all kinds of influence and different. We bring in a whole bunch of different words just because one country conquered another, and a bunch of words were introduced during that exercise, and so. It's to me, it's very, very fascinating how we all get to the same place. And somehow we pulled this together. It's been most interesting, and the reason I brought this up in the first place is just working with you and Andrew as much as we do, and you guys would say these phrases, and I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I've thought of myself as a well-versed international guy, and I just tonight when I was talking to the guys in New Zealand, they said a few things, and I'm like, no, didn't get you. Sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
do they pack their jandals and their chili beans for the weekend?
Is that what they would say?
Yeah. Chili bins are an esky, or we call it esky, you call it a cooler, I suppose.
Yeah, cooler. Yeah.
And jandals are what we call thongs. Wear on your feet.
Yep.
Not on your backside.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's something we called them thongs growing up. That they were called thongs, but you wouldn't call footwear thongs anymore. So now that the underwear has gotten so popular. So I don't know. Very good. Well, let me guys hang tight for a second. Let me roll through a few announcements. I told folks we'd have a few at the end, and we've gone a full hour 20. So let me wrap these up so we can get to the end of the show, and we'll stay around for a little bit of post show. Although I've been on the mic now for a couple hours, so it may not be a very long short post show. But let's just say I mentioned earlier, brand new site. So if you haven't checked it out, head over to theaverageguy.tv. Redesigned, completely redesigned. And a little easier to navigate. Would love your feedback on it, including a player that's on the front page now. So if you want to listen to the shows on the front page, you can just do it right from there, and the last 4 or 5 are listed out there. And you can get them right from there. So you don't have to drill into the post anymore. You're welcome. And then I want to remind you the Home Server Show meetup is coming up in Indianapolis, and we've already sold about half the spots, so there's only half left. And if you want to get in, you might want to do that. We will restrict it to 55 positions this year, and like I said, there's about 30 of them left. So get over to the Home Server Show to get registered. I'll have a link in the show notes if you want to do that. It's $20, and you provide the transportation to get there. So if you like it, it's going to be great this year. It's going to be, you're not going to want to miss it. So if you can make it, Rennie and Andrew, you guys will get, we'll give you guys a break, but and John too. It's hard to get him out of Canada, but we will expect everyone else to get signed up for the meetup and be there. Cyber Frontiers is up and running. Christian, we may or may not get a podcast out tomorrow. We're still thinking about it. See, depends on Christian's schedule. But you can certainly subscribe to Cyber Frontiers, and I get about 7 times more listeners to this show as I do Cyber Frontiers, and Christian would really, really like you to listen to Cyber Frontiers. So get that done. Give it a try. If you haven't tried it yet, you might be surprised. There's some really good stuff in the last one in 5. Some things that I learned that I didn't know, and some very interesting things about cybersecurity. So head out and do that. We also have home tech tips, which is we won't do one this week, but when I have a guest on, we'll ask for a tip from them, and we will put those in little 3 to 5 minute forms, and you can get those, and you can subscribe to that feed as well if you'd like home tech tips. And no, I want to remind you that if you're up on Saturday mornings, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, I'm on with Dave Jackson on Ask the Podcast Coach. And if you're an aspiring podcaster and you got questions, or you just want to come out and hang out in the chat room, Mike Howard's out there with me every single week in the chat room. He's faithful to join us, just like Rennie is on all the podcasts that we do here in the evenings. Rennie, that would be way too early for you to join us at 9:30 Central. It's middle of the night, right?
Yeah, it's a bit early.
Bit early for you, but
much as I love you, Jim, no.
No, I don't blame you. I wouldn't come either. And the other podcasts work real well for you when they're on the evenings here in this time zone. But we are on Saturday mornings, so join us over there if you would like. And then just a reminder, and if you're listening to this time shifted, no podcast next week. I'm going to take a week off, take some vacation. And I've scheduled a week off, headed out to Colorado Springs, and hopefully it won't catch fire like it did the last time I was there. And we will have a wedding to go to, so I'll be out of town. And no podcast. We want to say thanks for listening. For you, the listener, who, my numbers, Christian and I, as we've been growing Cyber Frontiers, we've been looking at the numbers pretty hard. And every single week, 800 or 900 of you listen to the show, and I just appreciate you guys for doing that. It's just awesome to think that we got that many people that consume it each week, and it's very, very cool that we have those numbers. Certainly interact with us as you can. I know many of you don't, and that's okay, but join us on the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, drop me a note, Jim at theaverageguy.tv. Whatever you'd like to do, we'd love to get involved, and however we can help you, we'd love to do that as well. Got a great community here, both here and at the Home Server Show, and we're growing one over at Ask the Podcast Coach as well, over at School of Podcasting. Love to have you involved in it, and excited for all that you do. So with that, we'll wrap it. I'll be back in 2 weeks. We've got some good stuff coming up. Got a bunch of stuff not finalized, but a bunch of stuff already on tap for the fall, and so we're excited about that. A lot more John Zadler for sure, and we'll be back here 2 weeks, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, whatever that ends up being there in Eastern Australia. I think it's noon for you guys, 11 or noon or something like that. 11 o'clock. What do you say? Eastern Australia time? What? How do you guys say that?
Yeah, Eastern. Well, it's Eastern Australian time now. We don't. Some states have daylight saving and some don't. So that gets complicated.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it gets messed up. Arizona. They do the same thing here. They don't obey the rules. In the United States, Arizona does not change. Everybody else does. So we'll be back 2 weeks. We'll do it all over again. We've got some more tech coming for you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody.